every time it doesn't work. But you'll already seen my presentation, right? And they were rewinding that. Let me ask you, how often are you indecisive of making decisions, critical life decisions? What was the last time that you actually made some sort of decision that changed your life in some bigger way? I haven't been responsible for my life really, and I haven't been deciding on really critical decisions for 22 years. And today I'm going to share you my story, how I pushed myself away from this disastrous behavior, and how I got here today. I was born in Soviet Union. I was raised in Soviet Union, and I haven't seen a lot during my childhood from what my city had to offer. It was a small city, just 400 kilometers south to Moscow, and it didn't really offer a lot. For example, we had just all the sightseeing that we just had a few clothes shops that sold super old-fashioned Soviet clothes. And another sightseeing was the stadium where we had our soccer team that never had any luck with, domestic challenges and things like that. We also had we had the same interests. We ate the same food. We went to the same sections. We also had, one just technical university that we all were predefined and predispositioned to go because it just was one major university over there. And after that, we were pre-planned to go to the biggest machinery factory that was pretty much the only reason that our city existed. But don't get me wrong. In Moscow, we had a lot more variety for that. For example, once the first McDonald's opened in Moscow and we went there specifically for that, we had to stay for 6 hours in the queue just to get there. Lines were everywhere. Remember the Black Friday last week when people were staying in lines? We had lines every day in Soviet Union. But pretty much there was no abundance, there was pretty much were no variety. And, I was thinking, we never exercised in my life, in my childhood, that decision-making skill. But then it changed all when I was 22. My life took a curve, and I went to the United States of America because I was picked to take part in the research scholarship program. And for me, somebody who had never been outside of Russia, that was like flying to the moon, And when I touched American soil, I was completely lost, but not lost in terms of geography, but I was lost in terms of all varieties and the options that I could make. For example, if you want to buy a sandwich, compared in the Soviet Union, where, sandwich shops didn't exist at all. In America, if you go to sandwich shops, you have like 6 types of bread, 12 types of cold cuts, 6 types of sauce, things like that. And the first time when I went to a sandwich shop, of course, facing the paradox of decision, I just got stuck and I didn't eat. Like a donkey that couldn't decide between 2 piles of hay and just starved to death. That's how bad it was. So I was thinking about, what was the reason, what was the purpose of that? And I realized really, in the Soviet Union, we had such a small variety of things. We never exercised this decision-making thing. Every time I saw something in abundance, I just was stuck. And so the story changed a lot when at some point of time the help came to me in the form of I was a part of a non-paid internship for some company, and the owner of the company was a guy. He was unfortunately not Michael Douglas, but he looked like him, and he was a very decisive guy. He never hesitated. He was like making very snap decisions. He was so cool. He looked so cool that I really wanted to be like him. And he was not really like a very intelligent person. He didn't look like an intelligent person. But every time for example, they were in a meeting and he had to make a decision, he took his phone, he called somebody, he asked a specific direct question, he made a decision. His phone was like a sword, a katana, through which he was cutting through his indecision and uncertainty. So one night he called me up after we were wrapping up the project, and he says, Andrey, I'm so grateful for your work that you did for me. Can I would like to pay you back off, but not in terms of money, but in terms of a favor. And I very connected guy, who can, if something else, if you need something, just ask me, what do you want in life? And I was like, okay, I don't know. I was so indecisive. So I said, okay, can you call in the morning and I can tell you? So, and that night I went crazy. I couldn't sleep. I was, drawing my plans. I was writing my goals, thinking about the lifestyle that I wanted to live. And then in the morning, he calls me up. He asks the same question, how he could help me with anything. And by the way, the big part of that was that I never really thought that he could not do it, He was so much connected that if he couldn't do anything, he could, just call somebody else and they could figure out and make this thing happen. So he calls me up in the morning and says, okay, how can I help you? I would like to be your goldfish. And pretty much I thanked him and kindly rejected his offer. I explained to him that, you might think that I was crazy, what could I've been done, what could I have been. But pretty much that night I realized that, and I understood about my life more than I understood about my life ever before. And I figured out that if somebody else on the planet could think of something, then you can potentially achieve that, right? The basic of our decision-making process is just because, and it's about that if we know what we want to do, if we know what we are standing by, then it makes it very easy for us to decide. Because our decision-making process is about, where every decision brings us closer to where we want to be, and at the same time, our decisions should make us and give us some pleasurable feelings, and at the same time, don't displease people we do not want to displease. So that's why you have to know what you want. Imagine, and pretty much I think there is also a problem that people don't understand what they want. And when people ask me, Andrey, how do we know what we want? I always say, just try as many varieties as you want, try them on and see how they fit on you. Because imagine you're walking down the street and you see a shop that sells shoes. So you stare at the window shop, you hesitate, but you go into the shop, you pick up the pair, and then other probably 5 pairs of shoes, you try them on, and whatever fits well on you, you buy. The same works with everything in our life. Whatever you want to do. If you want to run your own business, don't wait, don't hesitate. Go around, talk to people, see how you can help other people with what you do, with how you are good at. Try to talk to your mentors, get somebody on a coffee, see how businesses work around, things like that. That simple but very powerful concept brought me where I am today. A couple of words about myself and what I do. Pretty much at that night, I was planning, I wanted to be living abroad, being mobile, having my own projects, being able to decide for myself where I want to be, with whom I wanted to be. Since I left from the States, what I wanted to do, and I knew I wanted to do, I wanted to have my own businesses. But since I was still very undecisive, I launched 5 businesses at the same time. And that was not the smartest thing that you could actually do, but at the same time, if you have several things going on, you can try them on and see which business actually fits on you well. So some of those businesses I successfully sold, some of those businesses I successfully failed, some of those businesses I'm still working on right now. And at the same time, people started asking me and asking for help with definition of their careers and helping with businesses as well. So the first thing that people ask is, Andrey, how do I know if I have enough information? If I'm starting, how do I know that I'm ready to start? And if you have a lot of formal education, you'll probably ask this question a lot, because our formal education, what it teaches us that we have to be 100% ready all the time. But this is not the best strategy to be if you are moving on in our very complex world. Because, for example, if you have, 80% of information, and in order to get 20% of information to hit it till the end, you might spend like 5 or 6 or 7 hours for do. And when you get to this 100%, industry will change, market will change, people will change. The information you have gathered in the beginning will not be complete. So, we have logical part of the brain that operates with facts, and it's cool to, solve logical, simple puzzles. But when you have a very complex situation, a problem, when you need to solve, sometimes the best strategy to use your intuition and listen to your guts. And you train your intuition. It's actually, intuition is the same skill. You train it by applying actions and then comparing the outcomes of your actions with how you feel. My only precaution would be, don't use your intuition if you are in a very low or very high emotional state, when you are stressed or you are forced making decision. Another problem is people ask, Andrey, how do I not fear my failure? Well, first of all, if you start and you make a decision and you go on, how do you not fear your failure? First of all, fear is a very common psychological sign that only shows us that we are moving on towards the end of our comfort zone. And you, of course, know that all magic happens outside of our comfort zone. And fear is just a sign that you are going to learn something, And when you are, fear about failure, well, you can fear about failure, then you are concerned with what other people would think about you if you fail. Well, if you fear that, then, one of my mentors said, when you've been big, your old failures and previous failures will not be accounted. At the same time, if fear is a very good sign that we are going to learn. So, and don't let yourself withhold. There are people who withhold themselves because they want their first step or first thing they do to be perfect. My mentor told me, Andrey, the most important in the process is create the first draft of whatever you are doing and then keep optimizing it. People who are perfectionists, they target very high goals and they see the failures as that other people would see them, as incompetent. Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, he said that if you are not embarrassed about your first version, whatever you are doing, a product or an event, you are launching too late. Think about if you are a perfectionist, think about, kids. Kids, when they are learning to walk, they're not thinking about, what is my first step is going to look like? Is it going to be beautiful? Is it going to be perfect? So don't keep your perfectionist, your internal perfectionist from, start. So it's your responsibility to take action. It's your responsibility, because life is not fair. As more as you're going to grow, as more as you're going to live, you'll understand that life is not fair. Life is not a bed of roses. Nobody will just give you something because who you are. Life will just give you things in exchange of what you do. So I encourage you to, when I was born, the population, the human population of the planet was 4.5 billion people. You know how much the population is right now? 7 billion people. And our planet is just a tiny little piece of the universe. Universe is too big and busy to care. Universe is too big and busy to care about you unless you care about yourself, unless you care about people who you can touch, with people who you can help. So it's your responsibility. We are living unfortunately, in the world with abundance of information, but very lack of action. This right now, today, is the day that you are the oldest that you ever been and the youngest that you ever be. Your potential as you are growing is a lot bigger than your potential you will face. So take the responsibility, get to the action, claim it, get it, do it. The clock is ticking.